most of the problems that happen on set don't really start on set. They actually happen way before. And in this video, we're going to be talking about pre-production. Now, pre-production doesn't just mean paperwork. It doesn't just mean that you're going to be checking off boxes. No, pre-production is going to be the phase where you're going to be determining what decisions need to be made that way leading up to the day of set. And of course, the day of set, everything runs smoothly. My name is Tony, and I am a director DP in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I've been doing this for a little over 6 years now. And this channel is to help both newcomers and seasoned professionals navigate the creative space. So that's enough about me. Let's go ahead and dive back in about pre-production. Now, again, pre-production is more than just checking off boxes. It's more than just getting a gear list and saying, okay, these are the things I need to bring. It's more than just figuring out where you're going to go. There's a lot more in-depth detail that needs to be happening in pre-production to ensure everything goes smoothly. And to be 100% transparent, I used to be that person. I did used to think pre-production was just checking off boxes, making sure I had the gear, make sure I had the batteries, make sure I knew where I was going. But I was just far from reality. Pre-production is not optional. I've met people who say, it slows me down in the process, or oh, we'll just figure it out on the day of set. But you're just wasting time when you do that. And then you want to ensure that you're doing the 5 P's, right? Prior planning prevents poor performance. It's going beyond the gear. It's knowing what you're going to film, how you're going to film it, who's going to be there, what are the other pitfalls that we might run into. That way, at the end of the day, you're filming a great product for your client. So I'm going to go ahead and tell a story about what happened to me once when I didn't do proper pre-production. So when I got to set, I did my traditional pre-production was, making sure I had all the cameras that I needed, whether it was 1 camera, 2 cameras, made sure my audio was working, made sure battery was charged, and that was pretty much it. And when I got to set, it was a matter of, okay, what are we filming today? How are we going to film it? Where are we going to film it? I really didn't know. I would just figure it out on the fly. Very much run and gun, guerrilla style video. But what ended up happening was there was a lot of confusion on what we actually needed to accomplish for the day. We knew we were creating a video that was about a specific person and what they accomplished and what all kind of entailed to make that happen, but it was a matter of how do we actually tell this story. Now, we did hit the ground running, and we at least found a nice spot for a interview and got the interview out of the way, but then it was a matter of, okay, what other additional shots do we need to do, really bring this whole story all together? And then what ended up happening is we started to get what's called scope creep. The client wanted to add additional things onto this package, and me being the young and naive producer filmmaker that I was just saying yes to everything because it was a job, it was a career. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna make sure that my client is happy, And that led into a lot more issues down the road. What started off as just maybe 2 videos started up into me promising, oh, we're gonna do 5 videos out of a day that was already chaotic, and I started wondering how the heck am I gonna fill need for 6 other videos when we don't really know what we're filming on these first 2 videos. So after a full day of filming, we got all the footage back into the editing bay, and then we're unclear about what it actually is we're trying to piece together. We're doing multiple revisions because we kind of got it right, but then we needed to add some more stuff. And then it turned out we actually needed another shoot day because we really needed some other shots that could really bring this whole story together. And so all these pitfalls happened because of the lack of proper pre-production. So that's when I realized I really needed to do my due diligence and ensure I was doing proper pre-production. Pre-production should be the phase where you're answering all the questions that both you and your client have before they turn into problems the day of filming. What you need to ensure that you're checking off during your pre-production are a couple of these things. First, what is the story that you're trying to tell? You would think that would be obvious, but then when you actually break it down, you realize, okay, there's some acts that need to happen to the story. How are we going to introduce the story? How are we going to explain the conflict? How are we going to explain the resolution? The whole arcs of having a 3-arc or a 3-act story, you have to figure out what you want to be said, so ensure you're capturing a good story versus someone just doing a recap type of video. And from there, you can then begin to branch that off into, okay, so what are the shots that are needed to support those each acts of that video? What's the type of B-roll that we're going to need? What's the location we're going to need to be at? Are we determining that we're going to try to do this at one specific spot? Or does it make sense to actually go to multiple locations to capture the story? Now, story is going to be a main part, of course, of your pre-production to ensure that you're delivering a great video, to delivering a great product for your client. But some other things that I found over the years that you need to add in your pre-production are a couple of these. First is, who are your key stakeholders? Meaning at the end of the day, once this video is turned in, who's going to be saying this was a good video? Is it the main client you're talking to, or is it in reality that person that you're talking to is just one of 3 people who actually need to sign off on this video? Or maybe the person you're talking to is actually a middleman and there's someone above that person who's going to be saying yes or no to those videos. It's important to find out who your key stakeholders are in your video, because then you know who it is actually giving you the okay to say yes, you achieve what you're trying to accomplish with this video, that they give you the golden stamp and say we can move forward. Because I want you to avoid an instance like me, to where we completed a project, got to the very end, our main client that we've been talking to is completely satisfied. They're gung-ho about what we did, but then out of nowhere, here comes this other person who says, actually, we're missing something. And then I start wondering, okay, where was this person at the beginning? I should have asked that to begin with. If there were any other key stakeholders or any other people, parties, whichever, they're going to have a say of what needs to happen within this video. So doing that ahead of time ensures that once you deliver a video, you're not going to get hit with some random John Smith, Jon Snow, whatever, coming up out of nowhere to just kill your video because it turns out you missed something. And the next important thing besides story and key stakeholders is actually going to be your timeline. Knowing their timeline is going to allow you to do a few things. For me personally, what I like to do is then work backwards. Let's say your client reaches out to us and they're looking for a video within, let's say, 3 weeks. Now, depending on what I have in flight with other clients, I might be able to deliver it or I might not. So knowing when a client needs a video completely polished, turned in, what pencils down the phrase is, that there's no more editing, everything's done, just a final product, here's a hard deadline, can I deliver? Because the last thing you want to do is say, yes, you can make that deadline, when in reality, you haven't done your due diligence to see what other projects you have in flight, and then you end up jeopardizing your client's plans. So ensuring that you can actually deliver on that due date is helpful, but then what you'll also be able to do is build an actual timeline for that client as well, knowing, okay, if that video needs to be done within 3 weeks, then the week prior is when we should probably have editing being done. And the week prior for that is probably when we should be filming. And the week prior for that is what we should be doing as far as pre-production. So having your main hardcore door shut deadline gives you the opportunity to work backwards to figure out what are those additional checkpoints you should be creating to ensure you're meeting that deadline with your client. And of course, check in with your client on those checkpoints to make sure the project is moving forward and that there's no additional hiccups that might come up. Now, how does this work practically? Well, I went ahead and made a few questions that you should be able to answer if you've done proper pre-production. First is, what is this story actually about? And that's a bit broader, not just like, okay, what's this video supposed to accomplish? No, it's meaning specifically, what is the subject matter? Who is the hero possibly of this video? Is it a product? In summary, what is this video about? If you could explain it to someone in at least one sentence, then you at least have an idea of what this video should be about. So who is it for? Not only is it for your client, but who is the ideal audience? Do we know where this video is going to live and how it's going to reach that ideal audience? And are we sure that the story that we're telling is going to resonate with the ideal audience? Next, the big and important one is, what does success look like? Meaning, after you deliver this video to your client, you want to know beforehand, if we've done a bang up job and we hit a home run, whichever, touchdown, all these sports analogies, right? If we did an amazing job, what results should you be seeing because of that amazing job? This is going to help you too, because sometimes a client might say, for instance, maybe they're trying to educate a certain personnel on a new process that they're, inventing or they're just coming up with, or maybe it's changing the existing process of their workflow. I've done a lot of videos like that where it's either training or informational videos for internal communication. So that's an example of that. The goal of the video was to ensure that we're educating an existing organization on our process. Well, then we want to make sure that that's actually happening. Are we including those updated steps, showing what it used to be to what it should be now? And the same thing can be done for sales or whichever. We have to be making sure that at the end of the day, the video should be accomplishing the main goal that our client actually had. And lastly, which is probably the most obvious one, but we're going to touch on it anyways, is to know what the day of filming is actually going to look like. You should know where you're going to film. You should be knowing who you're going to be filming with, what equipment you're going to need, and what additional shots are you going to need to be telling the story. When all of these things are completely clear and you're able to answer every single one of these, the objective, the filming, everything just runs so much smoother, and your clients are going to love you for it, and they're actually going to want to turn to work more with you because you were so thorough in the planning, and you've kind of removed that sense of uncertainty. You're removing uncertainty when you do proper pre-productions in your clients, and you're giving them more confidence in you to do a good job. To do a quick recap on everything, when you do proper pre-production, you're avoiding rush days to where you don't even know what the heck is happening on set and you're kind of just running and gunning. You're avoiding the frustration that you're going to have on set and the additional revisions you're going to have to do because you weren't prepared to tell a properly good story. You're also going to remove any strain that might happen on that working relationship with that potential client. If they see that you're not prepared, they're less likely to work with you in the future, and if they just don't feel confident that you can deliver, well, honestly, why would they? And then why would they even recommend you to other people to get new additional projects? So when you do it right, you're going to be more confident on set. The days are going to fly by a lot easier because you're now moving with a purpose. Your clients are going to be happy because they know without a doubt that you did all your proper preparations to ensure that you're going to be making the right video for them, and then you're going to deliver a good result, and they're going to have a lot more confidence knowing that the video that you do make is actually going to be achieving the goal they actually want versus you just kind of ringing it. And I'll say this last thing is the fact that pre-production has become one of the things that we really cherish and put boundaries around when it comes to our clients, because we know it takes good, proper pre-production to ensure that we're delivering on the results, and it just helps our clients know that they're going to have a good time working with us. Protecting the pre-production process both helps my team and my clients. It builds a much more longer lasting relationship because they see how much we value working with them long term and showing that we actually care about a product versus just trying to bang out a video and move on to the next person. That's it for this one. Ensure you're doing proper pre-production to make sure all your videos, shoots go smoothly, your clients remain happy, and well, you keep your sanity. If there's any additional questions that you might have specifically on my pre-production process, or maybe you're struggling with something on your pre-production process, by all means, ask away as many questions as you possibly might have. If I can help you, I happily would. Again, this is all information that I wish I would have had when I first started, and so I'm hoping just to remove some roadblocks that you might be facing. All right, guys, see you in the next one.